Did you know that some of the world's most coveted resources have flowed out of Africa for millennia? Today, we're diving deep into the complex history of African wealth, not as a single story, but as a tapestry woven from ancient empires, brutal exploitation, and the enduring pursuit of prosperity. We'll be using Martin Meredith's monumental work, The Fortunes of Africa, a 5,000-year history of wealth, greed, and endeavor, as our guide, alongside other key sources, to understand the long game of wealth on the continent. It's time to unpack some common misconceptions about African wealth. It wasn't a late bloomer, nor was it accidental. The wealth of Africa stretches back to ancient times, long before European contact. Think about ancient Egypt's deep integration into African trade networks as far back as the 3rd millennium BC. The Kingdom of Kush, nestled in Nubia, controlled crucial trade routes, with Nopeta and Meroe becoming bustling centers of commerce. Meroe flourished for centuries, a testament to African innovation and economic power. Then came Aksum, in what is now Ethiopia and Eritrea, rising to prominence as a major commercial force in the 1st millennium CE. These were not isolated pockets of prosperity, but interconnected systems that shaped the course of history. The trans-Saharan trade routes, expanding significantly from the 7th century CE onward, connected West Africa to North Africa and the Mediterranean world. This wasn't just about exchanging goods, it was about exchanging ideas, cultures, and power. Empires like Ghana, flourishing from the 6th to the 13th century CE, became synonymous with gold. The Mali Empire, from 1230 to 1600, continued this legacy, reaching its zenith under Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa, who ruled Mali in the early 14th century, is perhaps the most famous example of African wealth in the popular imagination. His pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324-1325, with its legendary displays of gold, is said to have shocked the Mediterranean world. While some accounts may be exaggerated, the historical impact is undeniable. But Mansa Musa's wealth wasn't just personal hoarding. It was tied to the state-controlled gold production and trade within the vast commercial networks of the Mali Empire. Importantly, the gold fields of West Africa were among the primary suppliers of gold to the medieval Mediterranean. The term Sudan in Arabic historical texts referred broadly to West Africa, the land of the blacks, where many gold-rich polities thrived. These weren't just kingdoms passively accumulating wealth, they were actively shaping global economic systems. The arrival of Portuguese navigators on the West African coast in the 1440s marked a turning point. Bartholomew Dias rounded the Cape of Good Hope in 1488, and Vasco da Gama reached India in 1498, forever changing the dynamics of African trade. The most devastating consequence of this new era was the intensification of the Atlantic slave trade. From the 16th to the 19th centuries, millions of Africans were forcibly removed from their homes, a horrific crime against humanity that fueled the economies of Europe and the Americas. The wealth generated by this trade was built on unimaginable suffering. Then came the scramble for Africa, culminating in the Berlin Conference of 1884-1885. European powers carved up the continent, establishing colonial boundaries that disregarded existing political and social structures. The Congo Free State, under King Leopold II of Belgium, stands as a chilling example of colonial brutality. From 1885 to 1908, the region was subjected to mass forced labor and horrific atrocities, all in the name of rubber extraction. Colonial economies systematically inverted pre-colonial wealth systems. Production was redirected towards cash crops, mines, and taxation, all designed to benefit European industrial needs. Flexible local economic systems were replaced with extractive ones, leaving a legacy of dependence. But to understand the full picture, we must remember that women were major economic actors in many African societies. They dominated or strongly participated in market trading, local credit systems, agriculture, and household wealth formation. These contributions are often overlooked in narratives that focus solely on male rulers and foreign merchants. And importantly, in many African systems, wealth was often collective, embedded in kinship, clientage, and communal obligation. A rich person was often expected to redistribute through feasts, patronage, bride wealth, or political support. This helps explain why some local elites appeared wealthy in social rank but not necessarily in liquid assets. The 20th century brought new challenges and opportunities. The discovery of oil in Nigeria, copper in Zambia, and diamonds in Botswana transformed these nations, but also created new vulnerabilities. Nigeria's first commercial oil discovery at Oloibiri in 1956, and Botswana's diamond boom after the 1967 discovery of the Oropa kimberlite pipe, are prime examples. Major post-colonial resource conflicts centered on copper, oil, and diamonds, underscoring the continued importance of these resources in African political economy. Many African states, after independence, inherited railways built for mineral export, borders designed for imperial control, and monocrop or single commodity economies. This legacy continues to shape economic vulnerability today. The modern debate is shifting towards ownership and value addition. Contemporary African economic thinkers increasingly emphasize local beneficiation, manufacturing, intra-African trade, industrial policy, African capital formation, and diaspora investment. The challenge lies in transforming resource wealth into sustainable development that benefits all Africans. The question of who controls extraction, routes, labor, the state, and trade revenue remains crucial. Wealth, in the African context, is not just an economic story, it's a story of power. So, as we reflect on this 5,000-year journey, remember that Africa has always been a producer of wealth, a corridor of trade, a target of extraction, and a site of repeated external competition. This understanding is essential for building a more equitable and prosperous future for the continent.